Hey there folks, it's Codiak here and welcome to The Score, the video game review series that puts a fresh spin on the content you care about. I'm super excited to share today's game with all of you because it's one of the few games I got early access to and really spend some time digging into the content. So if you're looking for a top-down Zelda-style adventure game, listen up because this is Sparklite. Sparklite's story is a simple one. Your character is a talented young inventor with a celestial connection, and it's up to you to intervene in the evil Baron's plan. Your job is to gear up, head to the surface, and hack and slash your way through a number of challenging bosses. Along the way, you may meet a character or two that adds a little something extra into the gameplay, but it's nothing when you zoom out and focus on the overall story. While it's not immensely deep, the elements that are present in the game are good enough to keep you engaged in what's going on. It's clear the developers spent more time on the systems and gameplay than the story and use it as a way to keep the action moving forward, not as the centerpiece of the game. Sparklite features a number of colorful characters that look great, but ultimately don't deliver much in terms of depth to the storytelling. Most of the NPCs stay far away from the action in a place called the Refuge, a floating town high above the surface of Codiak. Each character is unique and draws visual contrasts that make them memorable, but their stories begin and end in the blink of an eye and really don't add much to your experience. The most interesting character is the celestial spirit that speaks in poetry after boss fights, and even that doesn't venture past surface level. Unfortunately, the main character Ada is easily the most basic of them all, adding virtually nothing into the mix. Sure, she's a spunky young inventor with a celestial connection, but at the end of the day, her story just doesn't stack up. Where Sparklite really hits it out of the park is with its systems, and anyone that knows me knows that I'm a stickler when it comes to in-game systems. I love the widget system that gives players powerful extra abilities, even if they aren't all created equal. Unfortunately, the ability to shoot out slow-moving orbs just doesn't stack up to a self-res, but that's okay because it's a fun concept that works well. Additionally, the inventions that you can create throughout your journey are fun to use, even if their combat practicality isn't all that great. Each is still an important part of solving puzzles and collecting loot, which makes it a win in my book. Additionally, boss fights are incredibly fun and sometimes frustrating to no end. They're easy enough to wrap your head around, but strike a nice balance between challenging and fun. Get too cocky and you'll most likely get knocked out and forced to start over. Finally, while Sparklite is coined as a roguelike game, I hardly think it fits that definition well. While there are some small opportunities to upgrade your kit, it's more of an adventure game than anything else. There aren't a plethora of upgrades for you to unlock, and even if you do, they don't make enough of an impact to make you feel like you're advancing every run. Ultimately, systems are what make Sparklite shine. The game just doesn't try to be anything that it's not, and I appreciate that. The simplicity works, and it works well. What also works well is the incredibly responsive controls. The game is meant to be played with a controller or in handheld mode on the Switch. That much is apparent, but across the board, moving Ada around, fighting off minions, it all feels great. Responsive controls, smooth movement, fair hitboxes. What more can you ask for? Another area that Sparklite pulls off well is in its art and design. The pixel art stylings of the game are executed perfectly, and like I mentioned before, characters are unique and stand out. To add to that, each enemy from the small blobs to the oversized bosses are interesting to look at. They're a great mix of enemies from zone to zone, each with their own special abilities, which can make for some challenging scenarios. Likewise, the sound effects and music are simple, clean, and non-obtrusive, which works well for the clean design of the game. There's nothing in the score that will move you to tears, but the thoughtful music pairs well with what you're doing on your adventures. The game made the wise decision to stay away from voiceovers or narrators, which again, I think is the right choice for the game. Sparklite finds a niche by being a clean, charming experience, and that effect is applied well across the board. If you've been hanging on up until this point, listen up because this is where we start to break things wide open with the details you care about as a player. Sparklite has a relatively short playtime window. You can beeline for bosses and complete the game in under 6 hours easily, or you can take your time, complete every upgrade at the Refuge, in which case you're looking at around 10 to 12 hours. This is a linear game with a clear beginning and end, which means unless you want to experience it for a second time, you probably won't pick it back up. You may share it with a friend, kid, or cousin, but other than that, I see no reason why I jump back into the game. Sadly, this makes the price tag of around $25 a little steep in my opinion. I think players should be getting more than 10 hours of content if they're paying as much as they would for a game like Dead Cells or Hollow Knight. This game is perfectly suited for the Switch and a nice long flight or car ride, but spending $25 for a PC version of the game just doesn't feel quite right. I will say keep an eye on this one in case it does go on sale because it's still a worthy addition to your collection, just maybe not at full sticker price. Sparklite's community is also relatively small, which means breaking through the noise of flashy new releases has been hard. There is no dedicated Discord for the game, but the team does have an active presence on the Merge Games official server, where the mods are accessible and receptive to feedback. The game also has a small presence on Reddit, which I imagine will grow once the game hits the mainstream. To start wrapping things up, Sparklite is a fun adventure to sink your teeth into, even if you take it one bite at a time. The manageable content is easy to get into, and it's apparent right from the get-go that the adventure won't be long and drawn out, which makes putting it down relatively hard, as you can see the light at the end of the tunnel pretty quick. Its snappy systems and easy to understand controls make picking it up simple and enjoyable, and while there isn't a lot of replayability with the title, however many hours you do get out of the game are quite addicting. While Sparklite does fold in some new elements into the top-down adventure genre, there isn't much that makes it stand out as a truly unique game. It's clearly inspired by Zelda, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but the game fails to leave any major lasting impressions. If you were to ask me a few years from now about Sparklite, I'd smirk, remember my experiences with the light, and move on to my next thought. What is great about the game is that it's accessible to all age ranges. This is definitely the type of game I would have loved to have gotten as a gift around Christmas, and the perfect experience for any budding young gamer. It's not an overly challenging game, but there are enough curveballs, especially when it comes to boss fights, that even gave me a run for my money. It's a nice mix, and one that I think will speak to gamers of any age. Sparklite is a fun, top-down adventure game that pulls together a lot of successful elements, especially when it comes to straight-up gameplay. It doesn't break out of the mold in any one department, and a lack of meaningful storytelling is what holds it back from being a truly standout title. My time with Sparklite was enjoyable across the board, and I think others will get the same enjoyment out of it as well. The price tag does still feel a bit high when you step back and look at the content being provided, but for a game that will most definitely go on sale, it's worth keeping an eye on and definitely worth picking up at some point. For a first crack at video game development, Red Blue Games has done a great job with Sparklite and should be proud of what they've created. I hope to see more from this talented team and look forward to the next adventure. If you guys found this review helpful, please let us know by dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more video game content in your feed. And don't forget, you can join us on Discord if you want to keep the conversation going after the video is over. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at the Game Gurus, thanks for watching and play on.
Thanks for checking out the video. If you want to learn more about the game or just want to be part of an incredible video game community, join the Game Gurus on Discord. Be the first to know what's going on with the channel and interact with me and the rest of the team on a daily basis. To join, check out the link below.